If you've ever wondered when to use a sales receipt versus an invoice in QuickBooks Online, you're not alone. So let's walk through what each one does, when to use it, and what they do to your reports. Invoices and sales receipts both look very similar, and in fact, the process of creating each one is pretty similar, but they have one key difference that sets them apart. An invoice is what you use when you are extending terms to one of your clients. In other words, you're giving them time to pay that invoice, whether that's net 15, net 30, net 60, whatever it happens to be. A sales receipt, on the other hand, is what you use when a customer is paying for the transaction at the time it is being recorded. The key difference here is that a sales receipt automatically records the sale and puts the income to the correct account, creating no accounts receivable on your books. An invoice, on the other hand, does create accounts receivable, and that invoice will appear on your accounts receivable, aging details, and summaries until such a time as it is paid. Let's say that you own a brick-and-mortar store and you use QuickBooks Online as your point of sale. You would want to record a sales receipt anytime somebody came in and made a purchase from you. The reason for this is twofold. One, if you're using QuickBooks Online as your point of sale, you want to be able to accept payment, and QuickBooks Online can actually be used as a merchant processor. The second is if you are selling inventory items, creating a sales receipt and recording what is purchased will automatically adjust any items that are sitting in inventory. So the key difference between a sales receipt and an invoice is that for the sales receipt, the purchase is going to be completed before the customer leaves the store, right? So we're closing everything out. They don't owe us anything. They have the merchandise. There is no further action required by either party. Using that same example, let's say that you also have a wholesale side of your business where you sell some of your product at wholesale prices to other people who might sell it in other cities. Anybody that you send those products to, you would want to create an invoice for them and send that invoice to them so that they could pay it in the agreed upon period of time, whatever the terms are. Again, those terms can vary, but basically you're extending them credit so they have time to receive the items, make sure that everything is there, double check that what was sent was what was ordered, and then process payment. These are the key differences between invoices and sales receipts in QuickBooks Online. You can also use sales receipts if you do pop-ups or any other things like that. I have a client who used to go to markets, farmers markets and things with some of her stickers and other products. And what she would basically do is she would keep track of what was sold because people would just Venmo her money or pay her cash or whatever it happened to be at the farmer's market, and then she would go through and record a sales receipt for the day so that she knew how many of each item she had left on hand and could still maintain her inventory. Again, she used a sales receipt in that instance because nobody owed her any money. Everything had already been paid for, and she was recording that income as coming into her business. So, to quickly recap, both sales receipts and invoices are used to record what a customer purchased from us. But the key difference is whether or not they have paid us for that product, service, whatever it happens to be on the spot, or whether or not we are extending credit to them and they are going to pay us at a later time and date. Sales receipts are what we use when we are closing that transaction out at the time that it is recorded. And invoices are what we use to accrue that accounts receivable amount and keep track of it so that we know when somebody still owes us that money. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Holly from Accrual Mistress Bookkeeping and Consulting. If you have any questions, please do put those below. And please subscribe because next week I'm going to be showing you how to create invoices and sales receipts in QuickBooks Online.